He has passed every test that's ever been handed to him.
But they were desperate to get him qualified for this.
I stick by my Lord and Saviour, Gary Moore.
We could be looking at next year's Gold Cup winner, hopefully.
I think he got an easy time out of things in front.
He just fires stats out of absolutely everywhere. Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our preview of day 3 of the festival. We've had 2 great previews so far with Oisin Murphy and Andrew Halligan from the finishing line. Today I'm joined by 2 great guests. First of all, Liam, it's been a long time since we've been on a podcast together. How are things?
Yeah, not bad. Hoping Newcastle can survive this relegation scrap, as you see now, sporting the black and white stripes yesterday on that video.
Lovely. Yeah, well, hopefully so. I'm not a Newcastle fan, I'm a Portsmouth fan, so I couldn't care less about the Premier League. But I'm now going to go to a man who's probably going to tell me that my beloved Goshen is overrated. That is RacingWillo. The first time he's ever been on one of the podcasts, the first time I've ever been with him on a podcast. Willow, how are things?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. It feels a little bit weird to be on this side of a podcast, if I'm honest with you. I'm normally the one pulling the strings, but yeah, I'm now being asked for my tips, and who knows? Let's hope it goes well.
Well, hopefully you'll get some winners for us today, and we will kick things off with the Marsh Novice Chase, over 2.5 miles. Now, the betting for these, I've mentioned it in all of our previews so far, is from around about the 23rd of February. So the prices may have changed by the time these videos have gone out. But NYLN is best priced 5 to 6 favourite. According to the betting, you've got Energamine in here who won't run at 9 to 1. You've also got Monkfish in here who won't run at 10 to 1. But Shamblue would be the next in the betting at 12 to 1. And you've got Sporting John, who probably won't go here either. And Chantry House 16 to 1. And around 20 to 1 bar those. Now, well, I'm going to come to you first on this one because NYLN is for a favourite who's done nothing wrong, 5 to 6 might be a nice price to whack a few horses in a double with. Really looking at the betting, Shamblue is going to be the next he's going to be taking on, according to that. And I think he should destroy Shamblue after the Ballymore last year. He absolutely blew Shamblue away. Do you think that could be the same this year?
This is a horse who he has passed every test that's ever been handed to him for the past 3 years. He doesn't do anything extravagant, but that sort of fills me with so much confidence. I think 5 to 6 at this point is actually a fairly good price. I think on the day, the Irish are notorious for getting stuck into their horses, and I reckon you'll shorten drastically. I wouldn't even be that concerned about a horse coming up to him either, because Shamblue is going to be going from the front, so I haven't got to worry about him coming from behind. And any horse that's ever eyeballed him, he just sort of bats them away. I mean, I love the flat as much as you boys. He is the enabler of the jumping world, basically. I think 5 to 6 a cracking price, especially when you take out Energamine and Monkfish. Shamblue most probably does have a fair each way chance, but I do have one at a bit of a bigger price that I quite like, and that's going to be Fusel Raffles. He hits about 20 to 1. Loves the quicker ground. That'll really suit him. I was a bit worried about Cheltenham being a track that doesn't play into his favour, but he's definitely proved me wrong this year. Obviously, that form with Lieutenant Rocco the last days worked out quite well. So, yeah, definitely NYLN, but I'd most probably stick him in a forecast with Fusel Raffles.
Yeah, a nice price there, Fusel Raffles. And Liam, we actually discussed with Oisin on day 1 with regards to Shishkin. He hasn't necessarily beaten much, but he's done it so easily and so well. Do you think he just comes to Cheltenham and shows everyone what he's got in the locker?
Yeah, exactly like he did last season. I remember earlier, I think it was his second chase start after he won at Down Royal back at Fairyhouse in November time. I thought for a brief second he might, I think it was Cocoa Beach, came upside him and literally at the flick of Jack Kennedy's wrist, it's like he just found another gear. He just completely ran away from the field. And I think we could be looking at next year's Gold Cup winner, hopefully sets up a clash with Monkfish in that race next year. But yeah, as you say, Energamine, Monkfish won't run, so he could end up going off 1 to 4.
Yeah, he could be a very short price. Jack and I actually predict that Monkfish will be the shortest priced starting price for the festival, but this one will go close. Jack, the one thing you might be able to pick holes in from last year is he hit a flat spot as he hit the bend at Cheltenham in the Ballymore, but really that's picking major holes. He still stayed on them one so easily. I mean, how far does he win this by?
Yeah, he probably wins this very comfortably. When you take everyone out of the market, like you say, you've got Champloo as his next best rival, who couldn't even win the Scilly Isles to Sporting John. I mean, it was a great ride from Dickie Johnson on board Sporting John. But I mean, Champloo's not on the same level, not in the same stratosphere as Envoy Allen. And I'm sure he does go off 3-1 on. And hopefully we can see a nice little procession round an empty looking Cheltenham.
There we go. A first tip for the preview, and I'm pretty sure we should all be on to a winner, which is always a good start. So Envoy for the boys here, but Willow with a nice little outsider with Fusel raffles each way. Right, we now move on to probably one of the most open-looking championship races of the festival, and that's the Ryanair Chase over 2.5 miles. Now, Allaho is your favourite here, 5-1. Min, 6-1. Imperial Aura, 7-1. Frodon is 10-1, but won't run here. St. Calvados, 11-1. Fakir Duderie, 11-1. Melon, also 11s. And Mr. Fisher, 14s. And bigger the rest. Now, Jack, one question for you and one sort of word answer. Paul Townend gets the choice of rides here. Allaho, Min, or Melon. Where does he go?
Min. You don't even need to finish your answer, Min, without doubt.
With ease, you think?
Yeah.
Even though not top of the button, he'd be aboard Min.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Allaho's a good prospect beating LMA. That's always good form. But there's just a couple problems for me. I don't actually think he's that great a jumper, and he's only won twice. So he's a 7-year-old. I think next year he looks a good prospect for this, but I don't think at the moment he'll be up against the likes of someone as experienced as Min. And of course, Min wasn't that great when in the Dublin Chase. It was a very uncharacteristic performance, but I think at 6-1, he's just drifted to an even better price. I've seen him shortened from 7-1, but he's so experienced. And I mean, of course, he was disappointed and had an off day in the Champion Chase 2 years ago, but then on his next run, he won the JLT by 20 lengths. So I think if he bounces back in the way that we know he is, and I know he's 10 years old, and of course people are saying he's past his best, but in the John Durkin, although we couldn't see him, Patrick Mullins came off and was so enthused by him, and I think at 6-1, he just looks a more experienced, more consistent price than something like Allaho.
Yeah. I'm actually in this race. I'm with Joseph O'Brien horse. Jack slated me already for picking this horse out, but I think this is JP's best chance of winning a championship race, and that's Fakir Duderie, who is currently priced up at 11-1. Now, since going chasing in 2019, he's had 7 runs over fences. One of those runs have been over this trip, where he won by 22 lengths, beating Ronald Pump. Which isn't necessarily the worst form. Ronald Pump finishing second in the Stayers last year and obviously coming close to Honeysuckle at the start of this season. I do think he's got a major chance. I think the Arkle form from last year is actually surprisingly good. I think Put the Kettle On's going to put a big run in the Champion Chase, but I think this horse will love Cheltenham. I think he's going to go very well. I think 2 miles was way too short. 3 miles was way too long, and he actually looked quite good behind Shackleton's. Well, I think that extra furlong saw him in good light, but I think just in the middle, he's the Goldilocks of horse racing. Not too hot, not too cold, just bang in the middle, and 2 mile 4 should be perfect. Is anyone siding with me out of you two with Fakir Duderie?
No.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Well, that's gone well. Willow, who are you going with?
I've actually got a really strong opinion on this race. I don't like Allaho. I do like him as a horse, but not for this race. He was only having to give Ellie May £2 the last day when he should obviously have been given 7 because she won a graded mare's chase. So I think he got an easy time out of things in front, and he won't get that with Min. I really don't like Imperial Aura. Although a good horse last year in that handicap, you can definitely pick holes in his form this year, beating Windsor Avenue, Real Steel, and I can't remember the other one, Itchy Feet. That's not really good form. I really like St. Calvados, and the fact that you like Min, Jack, means that in my eyes you should like St. Calvados. There's only a neck separating them last year, and I'd argue that St. Calvados is a better horse this year. They didn't know if he was going to stay, so he was sort of held up. He got caught behind Min and Aplutar against the rail, jumping the last. He had to wait for Aplutar to start going backwards before he could mount his challenge, and he got within a neck. He's going to be running a lot more prominently this year because we know he stays, obviously running really well in the King George. I think he has a really good chance, I think he has a really good chance. I wouldn't worry about the fall last time. He didn't really fall. He sort of just stumbled on landing, and he hasn't fallen in any other race. So I think his jumping is quite assured. My issue with Fakir Duderie is I think he wants soft ground. And we're 19 days from the festival at this point. It looks like we've got a really dry forecast, and he's that maybe horse. I looked back at his most recent 5 runs, second, pulled up second. Is he ever going to win? I don't know. He has a really good each way prospect, but that price is shortening every day.
Yeah, it is. And Liam, we've got 3 different selections so far. Are you going to add another one to the pot?
4 different selections. I'm probably going to upset Willow here, but I do really like Imperial Aura in this race. I think he's probably the home team's best chance of a winner all week. He's on a sharp upward curve. I know things didn't go to plan last time out at Kempton when he unseated, I think, at the first fence. But before that, obviously, he'd just been going from strength to strength. He's got festival form, which I think is key at this meeting. And back in January, the Bailey team were quite quiet. I think First Flow was the only winner that they had over the course of 3 or 4 weeks. But they're back in good form now, leading up to the festival. So everything's looking good. And hopefully David Bass can just, as he's shown at multiple occasions this season, just get into a nice rhythm off the front. And he'll have Min in second place, because I'm sure this is a stronger renewal than last season.
Well, yeah, it's a very, very open looking race. I was looking through the bets and I thought, there's a major chance. Even a horse like Mellon could run a big race. 2 mile 4 would probably be ideal for this horse. And that's why I asked Jack the question, where would Paul Townend go with this? And he's clearly said Min. I know Jack's been a big fan of Min, from the start of the season. But Jack, would you say that Min's run last time would concern you?
If I'm being honest, not really. I mean, he was pulled up relatively quickly from Patrick Mullins, and afterwards they just said he wasn't travelling, so there was no point risking him. And he made very uncharacteristic errors all the way around, and it wasn't like what you see. But with Min, he's such a consistent character, and he always comes back. And I do think 6-1 is a good price. As I said, yes, he's 10 years old, but Imperial Aura, I'm not sure you can be too confident. Kim Bailey and David Bass are sure that he saw something or saw a shadow or something at the fence, and that's why he went over. But it's 7-1 at a point larger than Min and Allaho. I mean, Allaho got in quite tight at the last time against LMA, and I'm still not confident his jumping is going to be up to it. But yeah, I think Min's a nice little price at 6-1. But do you think, Willow, that the 2.5 miles is going to be a worry for St Calvados? I mean, of course, you weren't worried about the unseat last time, and Gavin Sheehan was quite happy about him being settled at the rear. Do you think with the ground, and I couldn't tell you where they're going to settle him, where do you think they'll settle him, and do you think the ground will be a worry at all?
Possibly the ground, because obviously he's French bred, and heavy to soft ground is where he's been seen to his best. Not really too concerned about this all happening too quick for him, because I reckon they'll sit him quite prominent, maybe 4th or 5th. He was held up last year. He was too keen for his own good in that King George, which said plenty about the sort of horse he is. I don't think he quite gets 3 miles just yet. He must probably be more of a 3 mile prospect next year, or maybe an easy 3 miles. Whether they go for the King George, the Betfair Chase, something like that would really suit him. I actually think the 2.5 miles of this really strongly run race, because I can see it being a right burn up out front, will suit him.
Okay, there we go. 4 different selections then. Fakir Dudari for myself, Min for Jack, St Calvados for Willow, and Imperial Aura for Liam. So there's our preview of the Ryanair Chase.
Tell you what, if we don't get the winner there, I need to quit.
It's Mr. Fisher, isn't it? He's going to do us.
Yeah,
Mr. Fisher on Melon.
Mr.
Fisher on Melon.
10 lengths.
Right, we move on to probably, well, in my opinion, the highlight of day 3, and it's the Stayers Hurdle over 3 miles, and Paisley Park is your favourite here at 10-3. Time Hill 4-1. Then we've got Cider Burley 9-1. Roxana, who probably won't be going here, is 14-1. Kenboy 16s. Flooring Porter 16s, and 20-1 bar those. Now, lads, it's potentially a 2-horse race in my eyes, because you've got the 2 at the top of the betting, Paisley Park and Time Hill. Ding ding, round 3 this is, and it's on Paisley Park, in my opinion, his home ground, which is going to really, really suit him. We look at the form of their last races. The race at Newbury, which Time Hill won. The horse they beat was McFabulous, who has since come out and won easy. And then the race at Ascot was won. Well, the 3rd place was Roxana, who's since come out and bolted up. Now, they're 2 very, very talented staying horses. Liam, we'll go straight to you.
I do like Time Hill for win purposes, but in terms of an each way play, I'm warming to Sam's profile.
Okay. Willow, Flooring Porter's in here. Now, Flooring Porter won the Christmas Hurdle back at Christmas, and did it with some style from the front. Now, in my opinion, people are saying that he's got a major chance he's being overlooked and all this, but I think it plays into the hands of the top 2 in the market with him going off in front. What's your opinion?
Well, to start by saying this is box office stuff. It really is. Flora Porter, I don't know. This is an improving horse for Gavin Cromwell. We've seen it time and time again. So definitely not one to write off completely. I just feel as if maybe she's stolen the race the last couple of times. And I know there's only so many times you can use that excuse. But yeah, that's the sort of impression I get. I do have one at a bit of an each way price, although I definitely do lean towards Paisley Park for win purposes. And I want to mention Listener Oscar at 20-1. Obviously ran this past weekend at Haydock on really soft ground. Maybe you could say that that's going to knock the stuffing out of him. But he's a horse who does take his racing really well. He had 8 runs as a novice. He had 6 runs last year before the stayers. He's only ran 3 times this year due to having a wind issue. Providing he's come out the race well, and what I was reading from Rebecca Curtis earlier today was that he's come out the race well at 20-1. You're talking about a horse with festival form and a previous winner. I think that's probably a bit overpriced, but I would say Paisley Park. That race at Newbury definitely wouldn't have suited him and would have played more into Time Hill's favour. The race, like I say, really does suit him. Emma Laval's always said, he likes ducking and dodging and weaving between horses. The big field's going to love. He's going to love that. The hustle and bustle of it. I think the race will really suit him. And it's between those two at the top of the market, really. Yeah. But if you want an each way price, listen to Oscar.
I said, Jack, when Willow mentioned listening to Oscar there, you nodded your head. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think people were a bit unfair, a bit harsh on listening to Oscar. Everyone was saying that he didn't actually run that great a race. And I mean, I thought he jumped well from the front. It was his first run after a wind up. And I thought he rallied nice late on and he looked the winner until being caught late on. And I was more than happy to take the 25s that was available after the race. I know he's 20-1 now, but I think it will just be who turns up on the day between Paisley Park and Time Hill. It's very hard to separate them, and I think it's silly to say otherwise. It's obviously a top-class division with those two at the top, but Listener Oscar always comes to light at Cheltenham. He loves it, and I mean, of course, Time Hill and Paisley Park are on a different level, but Paisley Park was last year, and of course, we know what happened there at the festival, and he just always performs well there, and someone needs to be behind Paisley Park and Time Hill, and especially if Roxana looks like she's going to the mares. I hope that it didn't take too much out of him at Haydock. As Willow says, he usually he's heavily campaigned and runs well after that, and I think 20-1 is still a good each way price if one of the top two fell to fire, or should he try and get that third place each way.
Yeah, I'm with Willow in some ways with regards to the top two in the market. I actually think that there'll be 1-2. It could be a decent reverse forecast. I know you probably can't get that at the moment, but a lot of bookmakers will offer you 1-2 in any order. But I just can't say. I think they're in a different league, lads, these two, compared to everything else, even from the other side of the sea. I think that they're just absolutely class. And I genuinely couldn't even give one at an each way price in this, because you're probably playing for the third place in this, unless a betting firm go 4 or 5 places, which maybe if it's a big field. But I really do think that it's between those top two. If I had to pick one, I'd pick the guys on his home ground. That'd be Paisley Park. I think that it's going to be run to suit. And Willow said about how the horse likes to sort of dodge and dive and all this. I think it's just going to be perfect. So Paisley Park for me. I think Willow sided with Paisley Park with Listener Oscar each way. Jack with Listener Oscar each way, and Sam's profile for Liam.
Just a quick one. I think viewers would be slightly annoyed if we didn't talk a little bit about Cider Burleys. We're talking about a 2-time festival winner here already. I do think that this horse comes alive not only at Cheltenham but in the spring.
He comes alive under Barry Geraghty.
That was my one concern. My one concern was to take him away.
He is not a horse without Barry Geraghty. I think a lot of horses at the festival this year are going to find that as well. I don't think it's just him, but I think a lot of the JP McManus horses are going to miss a ride like Barry Geraghty and AP McCoy.
Just quickly on the stats, chaps. The last 4 winners of this race have been 7-year-olds. So that's a positive for Time Hill. Only 3 horses in the last 21 years come this festival. Only 3 9-year-olds have won the race. Obviously, Big Bucks, Ingalls Drever and Solwit. So Paisley Park does have it up against him when it comes to the stats.
Yeah, he's got it all to himself. He'll be the one, Liam, to side with. Trust me, he's beating Time Hill on the day. I think the 1-2 will be Paisley Park, Time Hill, and maybe one of your guys' selections finishing third. But for me, Paisley Park is a different gear.
I think Dickie Johnson would probably have his time again if he could at Ascot, because you've probably all seen the video when they crossed the line. He said next Pleative, I think he'll just bide his time a little longer at Cheltenham this time round.
Okay, we'll be interested to see it. So that's our preview of the Stayers Hurdle. Right, we move on to the last race before we start previewing the handicaps for the day, and that's the Mares Novice Hurdle over an extended 2 miles. And Hookup is your favourite here, 6-1. Royal Kahala 13-2. Rosie's Hollow 15-2. Galoise is 9-1. The Glancing Queen 10-1. And then bigger the rest, 14-1. Bigger the rest, lads. I'll be totally honest. This race does not interest me one bit. I actually hate this race, just to let you know. If you had to pick point for me for a selection, it'd be Hookup, who's the favourite. It's a boring selection, but 6-1 and ran a decent race behind, the two at the top of the market for the Supreme in Ballyadam, and Appreciate It. Jack, come on, how much info have you got on the Willie Mullins runners here?
Enough that anyone else needs, I suppose. It's the Willie Mullins Novice Hurdle, isn't it? I mean, he's won it the last 5 years. He has 3 of the top 6, and he has 7 entries in total. I won't really be going too crazy if I'm being honest. I think it depends how the stayers goes to see if I have anything in my pocket left for it. But Hookup's form in behind Appreciate It is good enough over 2 miles. Rosie Hollow obviously got the better of Royal Kahala and Galoise at Fairy House, and the Glancing Queen just lost to Wild About Oscar. So that form in behind Brave Man's Game and Stargate, I think, is pretty null and void now. But if I was having to stick my head out for anyone, it'd probably be Glens of Antrim at 20-1 for Willie Mullins. Now, she's bound to be the 4th string, and of course, he won it with the 4th string a couple of years ago. And she's assisted to Manila Melody, who of course went off 11-4 favourite last year, finished way out the back of the screen. But I don't think we've seen the best of her yet. She's put in a couple of nice performances in behind Statler at Leopardstown and Mr. Incredible, who is of course behind Gaillard de Manille in their maiden. But I think although dropping back to the extended 2 miles from the 2.5 isn't ideal, I think she looks a backable price at about 20-1.
Okay, Willow, what about yourself?
Well, Hookup is a very obvious favourite. My mates got tipped off on this horse at about 50-1. So they've been sending slips into this chat for the last 2-3 weeks now. It's doing my head in. It's now 6s. And if I'm honest with you, it's only going to shorten again. I was reading that Royal Kahala and Rosie's Hollow could both skip Cheltenham and go to Fairy House. And if that's the case, then this horse becomes a 3-1 shot. So 6-1 is most probably a bit of value. I don't like the Glancing Queen. Most probably a level below this, over a trip short of her best, and on ground that's most probably too quick for her. By process of elimination, I've sort of sided with Sky Ace, and I mean that goes against all trends. Obviously, it's not trained by Willie Mullins. Now, with the field likely to crumble ahead of her, she's going to shorten. She's about 16-1 right now. She beat last year's champion Bumper Third in Queen's Brook when giving £4. My slight concern has been she's been off the track for a while, but I mean, at 16-1, she's obviously shown a fair level of form, and she must always shorten for the day.
Yeah. Liam, yourself, are you siding with the favourite, one at the top of the market? Have you got one at a big price?
Yeah, impossible to oppose Willie Mullins' hand in this race. As I referred to a few weeks ago on one of our podcasts, Hookup, she really does need to improve her jumping. She did well to finish 4th, I think at 50-1 last time at the Dublin Racing Festival, behind Appreciate It. And I wanted to see better jumping in that race. And again, that's what held her back. So she's definitely got the ability, and hopefully she can put it all together in this race to give Willie Mullins, I think, 6th successive win in this race.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Hookup obviously with the Rich Ritchie team. One question I'm going to ask you, lads. I'm going to go to you each individually, but top owner at the festival. Let's go through the top 4 that are most likely to have it. It's JP McManus, the Donnellys, Cheveley Park, or Rich Ritchie. Jack, if you had to decide one at the moment with the hands they've got, who would you go with?
Rich Ritchie. I mean, I think he's got the best looking favourites there is, but I'm sure JP McManus is going to have a horrible year without Barry Geraghty. I really do. I was trying to look up a price today for him to have under 3 winners. I think they're going to really miss Barry Geraghty, and that's going to show.
Yeah, bar Fakir Duderee, who's going to go in for them. Yeah, they might struggle. Willow, for you, the top owner of the festival. It's a great question.
I wish you gave me this 4 hours beforehand, so I could have just done a bit of research. But I'd most probably would lean towards the Cheveley Park off the top of my head. They've also got Envilen I really quite fancy, Qualixios I really quite fancy, Ballyadam on quicker ground. I reckon he's got a bit of a good chance as well. I'd most probably lean that way, but wouldn't be too confident. So Gerhard as well. Yeah. He's going to like quick ground as well.
It's tough. And Liam, for yourself, would you go Rich Ritchie, Cheveley Park, or JP McManus?
Cheveley Park. I think the Donnellys have got the best string in racing at the moment, but perhaps that'll be next year for them when they have a festival to remember.
Yeah, I'm with the Rich Ritchie team for this year's festival. So it'll be 2 for Rich Ritchie and 2 for Cheveley Park, who should be leading the festival this year. If anyone's looking to have a bet on that, there's probably prices somewhere, or we can whack them on the screen where you can have a look at what they're currently at. But yeah, an interesting review for the Willie Mullins Mares Novice Hurdle.
I just thought about what you just said there, and I've realised that I've given Fusel Raffles at an each-way prize, St Calvados, Paisley Park, and well, Scar's just an Irish one, and my 3 handicappers are all fucking English as well.
There you go. Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, right. Okay, so you've done all English horses.
That's so silly.
Can we get a redo, lads?
No. Right, now we come towards the end of our preview, and we get the guests' thoughts on the handicaps of the day. And we've got 3 on the day. We've got the Kinmure, the Pertemps Handicap Hurdle, and the Paddy Power Plate. Now, there's some decent pricing here and some decent horses that have been entered looking at the entries. Willow, give us a list of the horses you're looking forward to in the handicaps that day.
I'll start off with the Pertemps. The price has absolutely been devoured on this one. I was on Champagne Platinum a couple of weeks ago at 25s. We're now looking at 8s. The ride, you've just got to look at the ride and the ownership and what race it is. JP loves the race. He got caught behind as many horses as possible and then flew home at the finish. You'd have a slight concern about him staying, but if we get quicker ground, then it's obviously over 3 miles, and he ran over 3 mile 2 last year. I wouldn't really have too many doubts on that. With the Paddy Power Plate, I've landed on one that's placed at this festival the last few years, and that's going to be Spirit of the Games. Yeah. Now, he possibly could go to the Pertemps. I believe he ran in a qualifier today, but I'd be much more keen on him in the plate. He was third in this race in 2019 off 147, and he was 6th for last year off 149. He really does come alive in the spring, and Scouten does like to line his handicappers up. He's running this year off 145. He's about 20-1, so I think that's a fair one. And the Kinmure, I messaged the trainer of this one, and that's Kilfillan Cross, a lovable horse, about 10 years old now. Now, he's finished 2nd in this race the last 2 years. He's £3 lower this time round than previous years. I did message the trainer, and he said he comes to light at Cheltenham in the spring. We're going for it. Now, he only started really racing 3 years ago. So the fact he's a 10-year-old, I haven't taken too many negatives to. I think there's still plenty of life left in him. So yeah, 20-1, 25-1, and 8-1. There
we go. And Liam, your handicap selections for day 3.
Yeah, really keen on the Bosses Oscar and the Pertemps for Gordon Elliott. Obviously, won it the last 3 years running. I suggest that viewers go back and watch the Martin Pipe from last year when he got all sorts of trouble in running and then finished really strongly to finish 5th, I think. He's still lightly raced. He fits the profile of Presenting Percy, a Delta work, who won this last year. Side of Burley, who, they win this on going into graded races. And it wouldn't surprise me if he lined up in something like a World Hurdle next year. I do think he's a really nice horse. He hasn't ran bad in defeat this year, finishing 2nd both times. So, yeah, the Bosses Oscar and the Pertemps at 8-1, I think. Is it the Paddy Power Plate? It used to be the Brown Advisory race.
Yeah,
quite keen on 4 class and that. Really well fancied at Leopardstown last time out and travelled really sweetly. But then I think it was the second last. I think it was Jack Kennedy was riding him and asked him up for a big jump, but he just put down and that halted his momentum. Did well to finish 4th, considering they come from out the clouds in the final furlong at Leopardstown. There was a whole heap of runners came in the last furlong, and he did well to get 4th. So, provided he jumps a little bit better, 4 class I think will be one of the Gordon Elliott handicap bankers at the festival. And I've got to agree with Willow in terms of Kilfillan Cross for the Kinmure. That race is really, really difficult to find the winner of. And again, Elliott has the handicap favourite in that from Run Wild Fred. But you've just got to look at his festival form. He's guaranteed to be thereabouts.
Yeah. Jack, before I come to you, I'll quickly give my mention. I've got one for the Paddy Power Plate. Well, I did have 2. I don't know whether this horse runs. I will say it. But Benatar was entered into the race and still is entered from what I know, but is running at the time of film. He's actually running on a Friday, so I'm not actually certain that he's going to be going to Cheltenham now. It's not a guarantee. But the other one that I landed on was last year's 8th in this race, which is Live, Love, Laugh. who's currently priced at 20-1. Now, he ran a decent race last year. He does need to improve his jumping a fair bit from last year, but he was off 144 then. He's now currently rated, official rating of 138. I think that 2.5 miles on sort of good to soft ground would be ideal for this horse. And like Willow said at the start of the preview, the ground's probably going to be going that way. So I think he has a decent chance, and 20-1 be a nice each way bet for myself. And I will back Benatar, by the way. I promise to back him if he does go for this race. No matter what, I stick by my Lord and Saviour, Gary Moore. Jack, who are you going to be going with in the handicaps?
Gary Moore's actually got quite a good record in the Brown Advisory. He's got 3 places from 7 runners and 1 winner. So, I mean, he does have an okay chance if he goes, depending on how he goes tomorrow. But I've just got the one for the Potemps. I mean, the Boss's Oscar, I think, has been handicapped out of it. I mean, 151. I know Cider Burley was rated 152 when he won, but I think it's 151. And I think that's
143.
Yeah, I know, but he's been hiked to the second. He's gone up to 151. Right. Yeah, so I think he's probably been handicapped out of that. So I couldn't really back him at that kind of higher weight. And I don't really like backing anything that won last time out. I mean, I don't think it's the most efficient way of coming into the Potemps. So that rules out Imperial Alcazar for me. And I'm going to have to agree with Willow. I mean, I know 8-1 short for Champagne Platinum, but they were desperate to get him qualified for this. They literally had him entered in every single qualifier under the sun. And if the ground wasn't right, they didn't go for it. There was loads of abandonments, and they finally got him qualified. And you can see why. I mean, James Bowen was very, very happy just to sit back there and say, "No, you go forward, Bushy Parp. I'll just finish 8 lengths ahead and go up £1. Cheers for that." But yeah, he's 8-1, and he's 8-1 for a reason. There's a couple of question marks, as Willow said. Will he get the trip? I mean, I think he will, especially if it's a little bit of a quicker run, 3 miles. I mean, he was 7th in the Kim Muir, I think, so he's raced over 3 miles. And I mean, although Nicky Henderson is 1 from 21 in this, which I don't really like to see, is pretty underwhelming. But I think that kind of almost plays to him, especially as Nicky's form hasn't been good the last 2 weeks, because Champagne Platinum ran a cracker when he hasn't been in good form, the worst form he's been in for ages. So I think that only makes Champagne Platinum's claims a bit more. And I think 8-1, I don't think he goes off 8-1 on the day. I think he'll go off a little bit shorter, and he's my pick for the handicaps.
There we go. A couple of decent selections for the handicaps. I'm sure that we'll have all of the guys' handicap selections and also all their selections for the rest of the races on screen so that you can have a look at them. And hopefully they found you plenty of winners. Right, we now end the preview with our guests' Nap and Next Best. Now, I didn't actually mention it on yesterday's preview, but all of the money that we are doing, we're giving £5 on the Nap and Next Best for each guest, with all of the profits going to the Prostate Cancer Charity and the Injured Jockeys Fund. We've got 2 guests on today, so we're going to have a £5 on their nap each, but we will find their next best as well. Liam, I'll come to you first. Your nap and next best for the whole festival.
I'll go album photo for my nap and appreciate it, my next best.
Okay, album photo. You're fairly confident he's going to do the business this year?
Bomb-proof.
Bomb-proof nap. I mean, yeah, it's almost as bomb-proof as Tiger Roll for Austin Murphy on day
wow.
1. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one. Now, Willow, for yourself, a nap and next best. Go on.
Could I give one piece of advice as well to any viewers that are punting across Cheltenham, and it's hopefully they're going to utilise that strategy for my nap and next best, and that is that just because you said something 3 months ago, races can change, plans can change, and you do not be afraid to change your mind. A couple of years ago, I got stung hard by Paisley Park, Defi de Soy, and Frodon. All my mates were on them, flicking their money at my face, and I was just sat in the gutter. So I've changed my mind 3 months down the line after saying I wouldn't back Galvin for the National Hunt Chase, and this is my nap of the festival. He's currently 4-1. The next 5 in the market: Royal Pagaille, Latest Exhibition, Cocoa Beach, Ascaria 10. They're either not going to Cheltenham or they have other plans. 4-1 is going to be halved in price. He's been targeted this race all season. He loves the good ground, which is why Gordon got all the running into him before Christmas when we had that good ground, which means he hasn't been running on this dead tacky ground. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Gordon Elliott's also won the race throughout the last 6 years. Slight negative is that Jamie Codd's not on, but Jack Kennedy, I'm not going to moan about that one. My next best is more of an each way play, and that is Put the Kettle On. I know that Sam mentioned her earlier on. Chacun Pour Soi is going to win the Champion Chase. I'm pretty adamant of that. But the next 2 in the market, Politolog and Altior, I haven't bought into Politolog too much. He got given an RPR rating of 173 for that Tingle Creek win, and that's only £3 lower than Chacun Pour Soi. I think he's just been sort of overrated as such. Altior, I think everyone in some way will be wishing that he does go and win this champion chase, but I do think he's below it, especially when there's 3 7-year-olds all with good chances in Nube Negra, Put the Kettle On, and Rouge Vif. Put the Kettle On, Arca winner last year, loves Cheltenham, unbeaten around the track, stays that little bit further, spring ground, ideal. Arca winners also do really well going to the champion chase. So yeah, Put the Kettle On, a really good bet each way.
16 of the last 19 Arca winners have placed in the champion chase the next year. So there you go.
Well,
thank you very much for backing me up.
Is. The whole week we've been doing this previews, he just fires stats out of absolutely everywhere. But no, I think Andrew Halligan actually gave a mention on yesterday's preview that Put the Kettle On is a fair price for this race, which could fall apart a bit with Chacun Pour Soi absolutely bolting up. So the places could be up for grabs, and Put the Kettle On could be a good each way bet. And hopefully, guys, with your naps, hopefully you can make a little bit of money for some great causes. And it's going to be a fantastic festival. Really looking forward to it. And tomorrow we're going to have our Gold Cup preview where we discuss whether Liam's nap album photo can actually do the business. But lads, thanks so much for joining us.
No, but
thank you very much for having me, mate.
Yeah, and we'll see you tomorrow for our day 4 Gold Cup preview.